Good evening, everybody. So again, I'm Aldo Casal. I'm a counselor. Most of my caseload is A and most of the B's, I would say, depending on each year. So I just want to thank you for all attending, and I welcome you. What we're gonna tonight, we're gonna tonight's agenda. We're gonna talk about. Give you guys an overview of the high school. One of the things is when we meet with our ninth graders, okay, we ask them questions about, high school, what's the differences between the high school and the middle school. So what we're going to do is we're kind of going to mirror a lot of this presentation to that. How is the high school different from the middle school? We're going to look at graduation requirements, and then we'll also explain what the course selection process is, which we're kind of in the middle of it right now. We just started that this last week, and we're starting with juniors, so we'll probably get to the freshmen later on this month. All right, so what do we do as counselors? Obviously, for this role, our role as counselors, it's evolved a lot from even when I was in high school. So what we do is we obviously we do the academic advising, we schedule kids. We talk about, and this is a big part of it, the post-secondary planning. The post-secondary planning, a lot of parents think, or a lot of people think, that it's something that we do just in 11th grade, and we continue in 12th grade. But in reality, it's not. What we do is each year we'll meet with our kids often in group settings. And like this year we met with our ninth graders, our freshmen, and next year we'll meet with your freshmen, your students. But we met with our freshmen this year, and we had a discussion. We talked about all these same similar things that we're going to talk about tonight. We give them a sample of a transcript, which we're going to show you later on. And then one of the things that I do and all the counselors do is we start to ask them what they're thinking about after high school, after they graduate. I know it's early, and we kind of joke around with them. Like, I'll joke with my kids and be like, I know you just basically started high school, but where do you envision yourself after high school? What do you see yourself doing? What are your interests? And we all have them fill out a freshman survey, so that we have that with us. And often, we keep that. So whenever we meet with them, we have, we're starting to build, like, a profile of who our kids are. And, very often it changes from ninth grade to, 11th grade or even 12th grade. And sometimes it doesn't, but it is something. It's nice that, to have that. And we start that in ninth grade. So obviously the post secondary planning, it does start early. We do individual counseling. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I think, every day whether we have groups or whether we have scheduling sessions, we have students coming in that need to talk to us, that want to talk to us. So we do that. And any concerns that they have. In addition to any, to school counselors, we conduct, like I said, we do have small group level meetings. So we'll do that early on in the year. Each year we do it a different time for depending on the class that we're with. So for the ninth graders, we usually try to get that in around October, but sometimes there's scheduling conflicts, so we may have to push that up a little bit. Our first group that we always meet with every year is our seniors. Just to get out the college applications, to go through the whole process. But then immediately after the seniors are done, we start to get into our freshman groups. Um, and we also coordinate meetings with parents, teachers, and students if that's ever necessary. And sometimes parents are asking for referrals, outside of school referrals. That's become a common thing. So, we those are other things that we also do. All right. So freshman year, we talk to the kids about freshman year. It's definitely different than middle school. There's big change. I mean, I saw that with my daughter too. My daughter, she's in ninth grade this year, but even in talking to her, it's like I'm talking to the kids at West Orange High School, because when we talk to them, we say, what is different, and they talk to us. They say, like, obviously the school is much bigger, so that takes time getting used to that. The new courses, a lot of times they'll tell us that they like the options that we have because we do have a lot of options, and they like that. They like the new courses, new teachers, meeting new friends. All this is part of the change that's involved in freshman year. And yeah, and this is, I mean, this screen right here is important because, the high school, what are high school expectations? And I think one of the big things is, and this is the thing that a lot of our ninth graders, voice to me, and I'm sure voice to the other counselor, is they love like that independence. At first, it's scary. And I think that's why a lot of them are hesitant or, concerned, worried, anxious about coming to the high school. But then they soon they adapt, and that's why it's kind of good that we don't meet with them right away in September. We kind of meet with them in October or November, because at that point they've already adapted to it, and we're able to kind of talk to them about like other things. So one of the things that I think is important is, when we talk to them, we talk to them about making responsible decisions, making good decisions, managing time. I mean, all these things that are on this list, taking attendance. These are things that we do discuss with them. One of the big things on this list that I think I'm a big proponent of is kind of taking the initiative. Like I do it with my own daughter. When my own daughter, when there's an issue she's having with, a grade, a class, a teacher, I really want her to learn to advocate for herself. And I think that's important for ninth graders coming into the high school, is if you want to teach them to kind of be your own advocate, advocate for yourself. And if you have a problem, take these steps. And the steps are the same steps that I'm going to tell you are basically what I tell my daughter. First thing you always want to do is you want to communicate to the teacher. You want to talk to the teacher if there's a problem, and, see what is the issue. Go for extra help. And if you're doing these things, and obviously as a parent, you're going to be there to support your kids. So, but I think it's important to have them to advocate for themselves, and then when necessary to communicate to you, if they need help, or if they need you to intervene at some point. And like I said, we do talk to them about start thinking about college. It's not even so much like college and career choices. Not that we don't talk to them, I mean, we talk to them about that, but a lot of like ninth grade is trying to figure out what you like. I do, again, I hate go back to my daughter, but it's the same thing. I tell her, like, take classes that you like and try and get an idea of what your likes are and your dislikes are. Because I have ninth graders, and it's happened where I've spoken to them and I've said, hey, they think they want to be an accountant, or they wanted to go to or they want to do something in business, or they want to be an electrician. And we're like, great. Well, you know what? Take an elective next year in that area and see what you think. And you know what? The good thing about it is that, like, it's free right now. And this is what I tell my kids. Right now, this is all free. So it's great to kind of expose yourself to all different areas. Because if you end up hating it, it's no big deal. Like, you didn't waste anything, because now you know that, that's not what you want to do. So I think, these are the things that we start talking to them about. Next screen. Yeah, and like, so what we'll do, and I think this is coming up on the following screen, is we'll give them a sample of what I'm sorry, a high school transcript looks like. And yeah, and this is the sample right here, and this is a sample of a senior's high school transcript. So we say to them, we'll talk to the kids about how it's basically their academic record. And this gets sent out to the colleges, and this transcript has on it, the classes that they've taken each year, the final grades that they received, as well as the credits. And I'm emphasizing final grades because sometimes kids get concerned if they have a bad marking period one. Oh no, they worry about their transcript. And if you get a B or a C in marking period one, um, the colleges will see what that final grade is. So if that final grade is an A, no one will know that you got that B or the B minus or whatever that was in mark period one. So this is what the transcript looks like: ninth grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade. It ends at 11th grade, the transcript, because it's calculated the GPA is calculated at the end of every year. The GPA is in the middle. It gives you your ninth grade, 10th, and 11th grade GPA with the cumulative GPA, which is like the average of all three. It's not exactly the average, but it's kind of like the average of all three. Um, and it's important that we show them this because this brings up the whole discussion of, it's every year counts. I mean, not you can't take a year off. So we discussed that with them. We talked to them about ninth grade is important, just like 10th grade is important, and just like the 11th grade is important. So these are that's why I think like it's important that we show them the sample transcript and what it looks like. And right now there's this blank. So I think it's good to have them see what one will look like. And getting involved, I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory. I think getting involved is really, really, really important. And I think it's what I sometimes kids miss the point a little bit with the get involved. Getting involved, in my opinion, isn't doing 100 different things. Um, I'd rather see a kid maybe doing fewer things, but really committing to that. Now, ninth grade could be a discovery year. So ninth grade is a little different because you're trying to figure out, like I said, what you like, what you dislike. But I mean, after that, I think it's important to kind of start narrowing down on areas that you think you're a little more interested than others. So, just being a general member in a club is probably doesn't hold as much weight as, now being on a board of a club. And all of our clubs and sports. And by the way, when I say getting involved, and I tell this to the kids all the time, um, getting involved can mean different things. It could mean like, being involved in a club. It could mean being involved in a sport. It could be being involved in, a music program or some kids work. So like a lot of that kind of, it's all under the umbrella of getting involved. And what I would do is as a ninth grader, and again, this is something we do start to talk to them about in ninth grade, is I would start creating a resume. Their resume is probably going to be pretty blank if they did it in ninth grade, but they should start to the resume can be done in Naviance. Naviance is a program they're using now. We're going to use that throughout high school. We'll do it during all of our meetings. We pretty much have them open up Naviance, and so I think they can use the resume option in Naviance. Start putting things down. It doesn't have to be fancy, and then each year just kind of updating it periodically. After each event. So, if your child is going to play, high school sports, there are a couple of things. First off, there's no credit requirement for incoming students for eighth grade, so they kind of start off with a clean slate. They do have to do a physical. It's required each year. I do the same thing with my kids. It's every year you kind of have to go through the whole process. It is what it is. There is credits required for second semester courses are 15. Credits required for first semester courses based on the previous year. So in 10th grade, if they're going to continue with a sport, they have to have had 30 credits in ninth grade completed. So that's important, if they're, going to continue with this sport. And, the last thing with this slide is the whole maintaining a good academic standing. Obviously, that's important for college, but also it's important for sports. And, we see it all the time. We help students with, when students are, if their goal is to play a sport in college, at either a D1 or a D2 level, a lot of it is going to be based on the GPA. And, so the GPA, it's important that kids can qualify for the NCAA. And the NCAA, there is a GPA requirement. And there's this worksheet a student can input their information, or if they want their coach, or we can help them with. But each year you can put your information just to make sure you're gonna be eligible for that sport, and it is based on the GPA. One of the other things too, and it's a little early for freshmen, but at some point, if you are going to be, if you feel like your child is going to play a sport in college, you're at some point you're going to have them register for the NCAA. The link is right here. It's the NCAA Eligibility Center, and you just have to register for it, and that gives that student more privileges to speak to coaches, and if they're going to be playing at a high level, coaches are going to want to see that they did register for the NCAA. not super necessary that they do that, immediately right away, but at some point in high school. And if you don't know when that should take place, when your child comes to high school, if you want to just kind of reach out to your counselor and kind of give them some background information on your child, ask them, about the register for the NCAA, and one of us will be able to guide you, to the link. So,
Leslie, I think
okay, I'm
Dr.
It
Chong, I
is.
think you're
I'm
up.
sorry. I was
no, no, it's
answering a
okay.
question. So thank you so much, Mr. Casal.
You're welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. So what do incoming freshmen need to know? Mr. Casal covered a lot of the information. I'm just going to finish up with some more. So, in terms of graduation requirements, West Orange High School just recently adapted the minimum of 120 credits that students need in order to graduate successfully from West Orange High School to receive a diploma. In order to attain those 120 credits, students need to take 20 credits in English. For every year that every student is in high school, for every year, you'll have to take a year of English. We recommend 4 years of math. It says 15 credits, which is normally 3 years of math. However, 4 years of math is strongly encouraged to build a solid and a nice, well-rounded transcript. Students will need to take 3 years of social studies, starting with modern world history, going into US 1, and ending with US 2 by their junior year. For every year a student is in high school, they also need to enroll in health and physical education. I know the slide says 3.75 credits, but for every year a student is in high school, they have to have PE. In terms of science, 15 credits, 3 years is needed. Most students start with biology, they go into physics and or chemistry and or physics or earth science. We have many other electives outside of the core graduation requirements. Students need to have attained 5 credits in a visual and performing art, such as art, music, or theater. 5 credits is needed for a world language. Going on for college purposes, we do encourage students to take at least 2 to 3 years of the same world language. Students have to have 5 credits of the 21st century skill. And then finally, they need two and a half credits in a financial literacy. That was a lot of information. And to try and make things a little bit easier for you, there is a credit worksheet that when you meet with your school counselor goes over a lot of these things to make sure that all of their students are taking the core graduation requirements so that there aren't any surprises at the end, or, that you haven't taken something that you should have taken your freshman year. The policy of promotion for the high school is that everything is earned on credits. And in order to be promoted to the next level, when you come as a freshman in September, you have no credits. However, by the time June 2027 rolls around, you will have completed at least 35 to 40 credits in your schedule. In order to become a sophomore, you need to have successfully completed 30 credits. In order to be considered a junior, you need to have completed 60 credits. And in order to be considered a senior, you need to have completed 90 credits. By the time you reach your junior year, most likely you're going to have 40 credits placed in your schedule every school year. That does give you some leeway and already flexibility that you're more than halfway meeting the minimum of the 120 credits needed for graduation. West Orange High School has been operating on a rotating drop schedule. I believe that the middle school is operating on a similar schedule with an A-B schedule. However, at the high school, there is no Monday through Friday. We have a rotation of an A day, B, C, and D day. I know it sounds confusing now. Honestly, parents, the kids get it. We all happen to learn it. Thank you so much, Miss Rosen. So the rotating drop, this example shows a typical schedule that starts with an A-day rotation. Whenever Monday is an A-day, the Friday will be the same repetition of an A-day. On an A-day, we also recently adopted a new bell schedule. So our classes are 55 minutes. Block 1 begins at 7:30 and ends at 8:25. Block 2 begins at 8:30 and ends at 9:25. Block 3 begins at 9:30 and so on. I really don't want to read the rest of the schedule for you. However, we do have a common lunch. Lunch is between 10:30 to 11, 11:15. We have lab. We rotate 3 blocks in the morning, and then there are 3 blocks that are rotated in the afternoon. School begins at 7:30 and ends at 2:15 at the high school. The course selection process. So you will be, right now, I believe that all of the special programs are meeting at Liberty, Roosevelt, and at Edison, going over all of the special programs that you should be introduced to for the Institute of Humanities, the Institute of Math and Science, our Citizen Empowerment Institute, ROTC, many clubs, and there's another program Avid. I'm sorry, I was forgetting Avid. So all of those programs are coming down to the middle school now to give you introductions about the programs, the applications, and the course selection process will begin with freshmen beginning on February the 2nd and ending by February the 13th. The classes that you select, of course, will be the classes that you are going to be enrolled in once you come up to the high school. We have an array of classes that are available for freshmen, and I know your school counselors are going to encourage you to take very challenging classes and just to, as Mr. Casal pointed out, take a wide range of classes of things that might interest you. Now's the time to take things that you may not have had a chance to take. A traditional schedule for a freshman, you'd have to take English 9, biology, modern world history. Your math can vary from Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry, or pre-calculus. PE 9, a world language. And then you have 2 elective periods. The elective periods can be anything that you desire. I strongly recommend that while the school counselors will try to put you in your top choices, to pick at least maybe 4 different alternate courses. When you're choosing an elective, there are some symbols that your school counselor will show that in order to meet the financial literacy, we have a key at the bottom. Anything that meets a visual and performing arts requirement, if it meets the 21st century requirement. We do have courses at the high school that are dual enrollment, tuition based. And we also have courses that are eligible for college credit at the high school.
Thank you, Dr. Chung. I'm going to take over now. Hi,
Oh,
everyone. I'm Rachel Rosen. I'm one of the school counselors here. Dr. Chung touched briefly on the special programs that are available for freshmen. Your child's 8th grade counselors are currently meeting with them. These are application-based. I'll briefly go over them, but there's way more information about them on the websites, and these are all hyperlinked. So once we post the presentation, you'll have access to visit all of these links. The first is the Air Force Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. We call it ROTC or AFROTC. This is meant to be a 4-year program. So you apply in freshman year, and the plan is for you to take it all 4 years. So every year you would have 1 period of this ROTC class. And their program varies from actual physical fitness to community service. There are certain days where they do have to wear uniforms and keep their hair a certain way. So it's a pretty strict, rigid program, but we find a lot of success from our students in that program. The Avid Institute is actually a nationwide program. I like to call it's for like the motivated middle. So if you have a student that is motivated to do well, to improve on their, studying skills, improve on their note-taking skills, hopefully take an honors course or multiple honors courses at some point in high school, this program is a really good program for your student. Essentially, it's 1 period in the day, and they have a teacher who leads the program, and that teacher stays with them for all 4 years. So they really do form great relationships with their students. They help them with everything from, time management skills to study skills to even like starting college and career research. So highly recommend that. Again, that's like for the motivated middle students who are motivated to be better and to be, better students. The last two programs, the IH and the IMS, it's the Institute for Humanities and the Institute for Math and Science. These are honors-based programs. So your child would only be eligible for these programs if they are recommended by their current teachers for honors academics. So the Institute of Humanities, you have to be recommended for honors English and honors social studies. And for IMS, you have to be recommended for honors math and honors science. A lot of people feel like this program, these two programs, like if your student is, you know, a really, really eager student, that they should be in one of these programs. And we're trying to debunk the myth that these are just honors-based interest programs. So these are for students who have a strong interest in either the humanities or the math and science. Each of these programs has elective requirements that they have to take for the first 2 years. And for the humanities, they have to take either a fine or performing art or certain humanities electives. And for math and science, they have to take either math or science electives. And there's a variety of them that are listed in the program of studies. But I just want to make it clear that you could have a student who is an all honors student or an honors student in some of these subjects who just takes honors courses without being in the program. And therefore, they don't have to take the elective requirements that are part of the program. So I strongly encourage students who have interest in these areas to apply. Otherwise, if there's not a strong interest in there, they can have a free range to take whatever electives they want while still maintaining an honors schedule. All right, so it's never too early to start planning for your future. Again, the links will be provided to all of you. Our program of studies is a 100+ page book of a description of each of our courses. You'll also get to read more about our business and family consumer science programs, our culinary art programs, all of our dual credit programs for technology, engineering, health sciences. And then there is one additional small learning community called the Citizens Empowerment Institute, CEI, which is available for students in 10th grade. So they will learn about that program in 9th grade to see if they're interested. It's a social studies based program, you know, involving civic involvement and just becoming like an involved citizen. So there are elective requirements for that program as well. But again, freshmen can apply for the CEI program. Okay, Naviance is something that was mentioned. I am actually the Naviance coordinator for the entire school. So any Naviance related questions can come to me. It is a program that your students do have access to right now. We will make sure, especially in that freshman meeting that we will have with them sometime in October, that every one of your children can log into Naviance. Most of them either haven't logged in since 8th grade or at some point in middle school, and that's okay. We really get involved with this program as we start doing career planning in 10th grade and college planning and post-secondary planning in 11th and 12th grade. I think we mentioned the freshman survey. We will have all students log in to take the freshman survey. So again, it's just building that profile about their interests, their dislikes, and all that kind of stuff in Naviance. The other portion that Naviance is used for is basically a communication tool. So if you're not already getting the Naviance emails from the middle school, I think they more use School Messenger. We use School Messenger as well, but we also use Naviance as a way to communicate all different types of things at the high school. So, you know, at least 1 or 2 emails usually goes out each day from Naviance about all things pertaining to the high school. So at the very least, you just want to make sure that your child and you have your emails registered with us, which 99% of you do when you come up to the high school, and that way you will receive those emails right off the bat. Okay, in addition to the 10 school counselors that we have, we also typically do have 2 student assistance counselors, or SACs. You may have heard the term SAC in middle school. It's a person that they can go to a safe place, someone for a little bit more in-depth assistance or counseling that is school-based. We currently only have Miss Surak right now, so she is a little overwhelmed, but we will be hiring a new SAC for the next school year, if not this school year. And essentially they're, they're a team, and they split up by last name, but oftentimes it's like whoever's available, and they just support the students in addition to stuff that we already are doing with them, scheduling and grades and classes. It's just like an extra support for those students that might be having a hard time or dealing with issues, or, need to find some referrals outside of school, things of that nature. So the student assistant counselors, they will assist families and students with alcohol and drug issues by connecting students and families to community resources. They provide support for families, staff, and administration who may have academic issues relating to social, emotional, and mental health issues. They are members of the high school support teams such as crisis management, 504, INRS, emergency management teams, and they also serve as the anti-bullying specialist. So they wear a lot of hats and are an integral part of our department. Okay, so what next? During 8th grade, you will be meeting with your school counselor or completing the course request form. This is where you're going to get a list of the electives that your child is eligible to take. Not all electives are open to freshmen. Some of them, start in 10th grade or 11th grade or have some sort of prerequisite. So you will, come up with a list of how many of the electives that you want to take, essentially ranking them 1 to 8. Freshmen typically have 2 periods open for electives. So they take their 5 major academics plus gym, that's 6 periods, and then the 2 additional periods will be for electives. Now, if your child is in a special program or in music or in the band or in ROTC or in AVID, that counts as one of their elective periods. So you just want to keep that in mind. If you know your child is already going to be in one of those programs, that's going to count as one of their elective periods. So essentially, they're going to have 1 additional elective period. And we as the counselors work very diligently with the students to make sure that not only are they getting the classes that they want for the special programs, but they're also meeting graduation requirements that are required by the state. And I'll go into that a little bit more in the next slide or so. So yeah, you're going to complete that course request sheet. And then during the summer, be sure to check for if you have any summer assignments. I think there is usually always a math summer assignment and a suggested reading list for English, but depending on the level and the course that the student is scheduled for in 9th grade, there might be additional summer assignments. You should plan to have your child attend the orientation. There's, I think, 2 or 3 dates in August. Understand that a lot of people travel in August, so we provide a couple of dates that are available for your student to attend orientation. That's like a 2.5 hours at the high school where they get their Chromebook, they get their ID, they get a full tour of the school, etc. So please, when those dates come out, be sure to have your child attend one of those. Your child's schedule will be available on PowerSchool in August. So same way that they log in now, you would log in. We typically release them like the 2nd week of August. And even at that point, students can request a schedule change. So if you get your schedule in June, you do get a course list in June. At that point, you can make a request to make a schedule change. And then you'll get your official schedule in the beginning of August with the teachers and the periods. And then you can still request to make a change. The school counselors, we do work a little bit over the summer, but not every day. So if you email your child's counselor, you'll most likely get a bounce back over the summer, but we do, check all of our emails at some point and get back to you to make sure that, we're adhering to whatever requests you're making. So email is definitely the best way to get in touch with us over the summer when you have your schedule and you have questions or want to make changes. Okay, here's helpful links at a glance, which you will have access to. So the course selection sheet, I'm just going to quickly pull it up. It's a double-sided sheet that is broken out by department. So we have all of our electives on here. So there are electives within each department. There's language arts electives, science electives, math electives. And I'm going through this quickly because you guys will have access to see all of this. And it's also in our program of studies. music, drama, dance, social studies. And then on the second page are the other electives like art, technology and engineering, business education, family and consumer science, etc. So it's just important to look at these key symbols down here because a lot of the courses do require either a prerequisite or a recommendation from either a teacher or a supervisor. We have classes, elective classes that run the full year. Those are going to be in white. And also we have classes that are semesters. So it's half a year. So it'll be Q1 and Q2 or Q3 and Q4. Obviously, if you're picking half year electives, you would need to have another half year elective to go along with that. So you can definitely have a mix of full year and half year electives in your schedule. And then like I was talking about, us kind of tracking the kids as to meeting graduation requirements, there are 3 elective graduation requirements that have to be met by the time the child graduates. One of them is taking their financial literacy requirement. Another one is taking a full year or 5 credits of a visual or performing art. And the other is 5 credits of a 21st century life career requirement. So you see there's little keys next to all of these as to what requirement that they might meet. A lot of these in the family consumer science and in business and in tech meet the 21st century requirement. And a lot of them, obviously all of them, in the art department meet the art requirement. And then there will be a variety of electives that will meet certain requirements, like some of the science electives meet the career requirement. One of the social studies electives meets the financial literacy. So you will have plenty of time to dive deeper into this sheet. But like Mr. Casal was saying, the immediate reaction from the students is like, wow, I'm so impressed with how many electives and choices that you guys offer. So we do really right off the bat try to start talking to the kids about what they might be interested in and recommend electives that would expose them to those areas to A, see if it's something that they're actually interested in, or B, if it's something that they can rule out that they wouldn't want to study further. So we really do try to, encourage students to take classes that they might follow as a career path, while also choosing some classes that might be fun, like the culinary class, which is the most highly requested class in the building. I will say that seniors get first priority for the culinary class. A lot of freshmen request it and don't get it. So we try to give first priority to seniors and then juniors and then sophomores and then freshmen. If your child does get culinary, consider yourself very lucky as a freshman. We talked about the ROTC program. I'm not going to really talk too much about the co-op program. It's really a senior program, but there are work options for seniors in their last year, assuming that they're on track to graduate. We have a culinary program. This is the social studies program, the Citizens Empowerment Institute. We have a program for students who want to become teachers, the Avid Institute I talked about, the IMS, and the IH program as well. So again, I think that's our last slide. I think the other counselors have been answering diligently questions in the chat, but I'm going to leave it up to parents if you have any questions that you want to put in the chat as like a last call.
Just a reminder, it's the Q&A, not the chat.
Sorry, you even
No,
said
it's okay.
before we started, she was like, don't call it the chat, call it the Q&A.
That's okay.
Fail. And I'm looking like we have no questions. Oh, where is the Avid application? It's on the website under programs in the high school. Again, you can ask your child's school counselor for it. Dr. Chung seems to be answering that question. I'm just calling it out now. I'm answering this live. To apply to IMS, do you need to be in honors now? Good question. You do not need to be in honors this year in 8th grade, but you do need to have your current 8th grade teacher give you a recommendation to be in honors for next year. So I believe that process is going on now in the middle school. And also, I just wanted to reiterate that this is all happening super early. This is just the starting process. So there are deadlines for the special programs, but in terms of finalizing your child's schedule, there's a lot of time to finalize that. Okay. So, like, even before the end of the year, you can request schedule changes. And then even over the summer, you can request schedule changes. So, a lot will happen between now and, the first day of school. Once school starts on the first day of school, we no longer allow schedule changes. So that's a big, I don't know if that's a change from the middle school, but that's a big thing for us, is that we really want you to be thoughtful about your elective choices. Because once you start, we're not switching you to another elective. There are many students who do go to that first day and they're like, oh, I don't like this class. I want to switch it. We really encourage them and give it more time. And just be thoughtful, because you're not going to be allowed to change your elective once school starts. So be sure that you request those schedule changes ahead of time. To apply to IMS, so we did that one. Aside from passion, is there a benefit to joining the IMS or the IH programs? Dr. Chung seems to be answering that one currently. Do they need to be recommended for both math and science, or just one or the other? No, they need to be recommended for both to be an IMS or IH. One will not cut it. They need to be recommended for both math and science honors, or for IH, both social studies and English. If support classes are needed, how are they scheduled? I'm assuming that means like special education, or if your child has an IEP, and your child will be assigned a case manager upon coming up to the high school, and that will be followed. And we have tons of different levels of support classes at the high school. So we work very closely with the child study team to ensure that their IEP is being followed. 504 plans, similar. If you're coming up to the high school with the 504 plan, we will usually meet in June with the 8th grade counselors to successfully transition you over to the high school and take whatever considerations are needed. If my child took Spanish in 7th and 8th grade, will he placed in Spanish 1 in 9th grade? No. If your child is taking Spanish in 8th grade, typically they go into Spanish 2, or the second level of any world language. So if they're taking French, they go into French 2, Chinese, etc. I will say, though, that if your child is not strong in language, even if they took it in 8th grade, I would recommend them starting at the first level. So even if they took Spanish, but like they struggled with the class, or it was hard for them to grasp some of the concepts, it might be a good idea to have them start with Spanish 1 in high school. Insert that live.
Mike is just asking the pros and cons of being an IMS and IH versus being a quote free agent honor student.
Honestly, that's a good question. It depends on what you consider a pro or a con. To me, you're going to be required to take certain electives if you're in one of the programs. So if you want full range to take any electives that are available, I would say don't be in one of these programs. If you're interested in taking engineering, coding, one of the health science like pre-med classes, I don't have my book with me. There's like 4 different buckets for IMS of classes that you can take, all related to STEM. So you're going to have to choose, one of those electives for both 9th and 10th grade. And similarly for IH, you're going to have to choose a performing or fine art elective, or I think creative writing is also allowed. So like if your child is in band and they really love the arts, then IH would be an appropriate program for them. But if they're not interested in doing any sort of art classes aside from the graduation requirements of, taking a year of an art, then IH is not the program for them. And I should talk about the pros to the programs is that they do form like a small learning community. So they are going to be in those math and science classes and those English and social studies classes with the same cohort of students. They do plan really fun activities and field trips and like events. So that's fun for them, a definite pro. but it's not like a leg up over honors. It's not like IH or IMS is like higher than just taking the regular honors classes. It's not, and it's not viewed that way either. So I think that's a big, myth that has been going around in the community for years that we like to debunk, mostly because we hate to see students come out of the programs after the first year because they're like, I don't want to take these electives. Um, do you have to take IH to do art related things? Absolutely not. All of the arts, performing arts, dance, music classes are available to our entire population, not just students in IH. If you don't select IMS in 9th grade, does that mean you cannot do it in 10th grade? The door is not closed, but we don't have a lot of students who enter the program in 10th grade. But the door is not closed. So it is still, you're still able to apply to IMS or IH after 9th grade. Just keep in mind, it's only a 2-year program. It's just for 9th and 10th grade anyway. So then they would really only just be in the program for 1 year.
Sorry,
So-
Rachel, Mrs. Rosen, I've been typing away. So.
Yeah, I see you're typing and I'm talking away. So either way, we're getting it all
Dr.
answered.
Chung, I just want to confirm that the recording of the presentation will also be linked to the parents. Is that by
Yeah.
email?
Yes, it's gonna go out. I'm
Okay.
gonna ask the 8th grade counselor to send it out to all 8th grade families so that they have the presentation.
Thank you.
How many students roughly are in each class? That varies greatly, mostly dependent upon the classroom size and what's going on in that class. Some classes, like our technology lab, may only have like 18 stations, so it's cut at 18. Other classes, the cap sizes could be 25, 30. It really all depends. I will say that as a department, we try to balance the classes. So that happens a lot over the summer, and you may see schedule changes happen over the summer. If we notice that like one math class has 12 kids in it and the other one has 29, we're going to try to balance that out, right? So that it's not such a burden on one teacher. And how many students are in IMS or IH? I'm going to say about 60, maybe less. For IH, we usually have, 2 sections.
Mrs. Moretti, I see that you've raised your hand. Unfortunately, we're not using that function. If you can just put your question into the Q&A, we'll be able to help you with that.
Last chance to put a question in. You can always reach out to us after the fact. We make ourselves very available via email, via phone, to meet in person. So if you didn't get your question answered and you think of a question, I'd say start with the middle school counselor just because you already have a relationship with them. But you can also reach out to us at the high school. We haven't yet, come up with our caseload chart, which varies year to year. Typically, each of the counselors has like a portion of the alphabet, but we do balance that out each year as well. So we'll have a better idea of which counselors are assigned to which students towards the end of the year. And how big is the freshman class? Our class sizes are typically around between 450 and 500. Two people are asking about the deadlines to IMS. I believe it's February 6th, but don't quote me on that.
February the 6th or the 2nd. I want to say I think it's the first Monday in February because they're going to the middle schools now to discuss all about the programs, the requirements, and the applications so that students have them in hand so that they can turn them in because decisions are made by the end of February.
If there's anyone else who has any questions, they can use that Q&A button at the typically at the bottom of your screen. Some people it's the top of your screen. And you can choose to remain anonymous as well if you'd like.
I hope this was informative. Again, we will be available to answer more questions as time goes on. This was really just like an introduction. I know it's scary. Your babies are going off to high school, and I can't imagine. Mine is in 5th grade and she's going off to middle school next year. So I can't even imagine how I'm going to feel when she's going to high school. But we are here to answer your questions, to ease the transition, and to set everyone up for success.
Okay. Oh, I think we got a sneaky sneak in there. What's the difference between AVID and IH? Which would be more useful?
IH is an honors-based program, so you have to be in honors English and honors social studies and be willing to take a fine performing or humanities elective. AVID is more for students who could build on their skills, who are motivated to do well in school, to improve their academic skills, their time management skills, and just have like an extra layer of support
And
during
AVID
the
is every
day.
year from their freshman through senior year.
And it's every year, whereas IH is just 2 years.
Okay. Oh.
Sneaky, sneaky.
At the same
Everybody.
time, are students allowed to
Only
leave during lunch?
seniors are allowed to leave school
Sneak in
during the
lunch
lunch
question.
block. Seniors are the only students permitted off campus during the lunch block. No, freshmen cannot leave school during lunch.
Someone has my child's counselor said that she'll have 6 top elective choices. So where does the 8 come from?
We just try to say the more the better, because the school counselor will try to put in, the courses that your child suggested, but if they are unable to, they at least have different alternatives that they can put in the schedule.
Saying that we had listed that one of the questions on the 504 is entered live, and I'm just trying to score back through because there was quite a bit of questions. If the person
So
just
typically the
about the
eighth
five,
grade, the eighth grade counselors, if your child has a current 504 in middle school, will have a meeting in June, like a transition meeting that we try to attend if we can, to learn about the student, their accommodations, so that we can, fulfill everything on their accommodations list. Otherwise, if you're asking for new 504s, that is something that's, done at the high school via request to the school counselor and the 504 committee.
Okay, the last call for Q&A questions. That one. They're asking for the requirements of the AVID program.
I'm honestly not sure how it's decided if they're getting into AVID. There is, I believe, an essay and an interview, but I'm not, but it's just showing that you're a motivated student who wants to level up, for instance, just improve on their academic skills. Or it might be a student that you're the parent and you're like, they could really use some extra support, a period to organize themselves during the day, to get support with time management, and just that kind of stuff as well. They'll have like an extra period in the day. It's not a free period. There is curriculum involved, but it's, again, just a period to help them build their skills. So a lot of requirements about the programs. Again, they're all laid out on the applications. So I encourage you to read through the applications because it's pretty straightforward on the applications.
And someone's asking, with ROTC, AVID, IH, and IMS, can the student only choose one?
So that's a good question. We do have students who are in dual programs, but I will just say it's very hard as a freshman because you only have 2 periods. So I don't think you're allowed to apply to multiple programs
You're
for
not.
IH,
You have to,
IMS,
yeah, you have to select only one.
CEI. You have to choose one, but like we will have students who are like in ROTC and band. And so it's like, sorry, you're not choosing an elective. Like those are your 2 electives. Um, there's 3 nurses at the high school, 10 counselors. Someone just asked that. Yes, the 8th grade students will be meeting with their current 8th grade counselors to pick your electives. Okay. And then at some point in the spring, we get those, it rolls over. And then towards the end of the year, by June, then the high school counselors are the ones reviewing those schedules. And then we kind of take over June through the summer, and you'll no longer be reaching out to your 8th grade counselor, and you'll start reaching out to us for schedule changes. But for now, any scheduling questions should go to your 8th grade counselors.
Why is lunch so early? Well, they start at 7:30.
Brunch.
It's brunch.
Kids are hungry by then. I'm hungry by then. I eat breakfast at like 6 in the morning, so by 10:30, I'm ready for a little snack.
When you said that you could have 6 to 8 electives, did you mean that you could have multiple electives per rank, or that you could choose 8 classes to rank from 1 to 8 instead of 1 to 6?
Yeah, you're ranking them 1 to 8. I apologize. I haven't seen the actual form that the 8th grade counselors are giving to you guys, but it's going to have all the electives available in 9th grade, and then you're essentially going to rank your top 8, 1 to 8. And we'll start with 1. If we can't get you 1, we're going to move to 2, to 3, and so on. Hopefully, we don't have to go to 8, but sometimes it happens.
And someone asked if the grades aren't too great in 8th grade, does that limit your elective options?
It shouldn't limit your elective options, no. There's not too many electives that have like a grade requirement, aside from like the programs you have to apply to. There's not. There's definitely electives that are more academically heavy than other electives. Think like coding versus culinary. But the grades in 8th grade are really not considered in terms of your elective choice.
Okay. It looks like we have no open questions at this time. We want to do a one last call for questions. I just want to make sure everyone gets them in, because usually that's when they start flooding in when we say. No, it was great. I mean, 82 questions were asked, so so that was great.
job.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. My information was at the last slide. The presentation will be sent out to everyone. If you have immediate questions, I would say that your child's school counselor at his or her respective middle school is also a very great resource, and they'll be able to answer your questions as well.
I'm sharing really quickly just Dr. Chung's email.
When you
It
apply,
follows the same algorithm as all the other staff. It's L Chung, so first initial last name at westorangeschools.org.
While we wrap up the last, someone's asking, are students assigned lockers?
Yes, they are.
Yes, so they can speak to their first block teacher at the high school, and they can be assigned a locker. And when students apply to Avidu, they find out if they made it. It is an interview application process. Once the application is submitted, there is an interview afterwards, and then time to reflect and look at all the candidates, and then students and families will be notified. There are 5-minute breaks in between classes. Students have 5 minutes passing time. All programs at the high school are really great. I really can't definitively say which one is better. Avid loops with the student. They're with the student all 4 years while they're in high school. Avid would be an elective. Even though it is a program, Avid would be an elective.
You're still going to fill out that sheet that has your eight. I'm not sure Avid's listed on the list of
No, I don't
electives. So
know.
you're still going to fill out that sheet with your rank 1 to 8 or 1 to 6 or however many they let you choose. And then if you are accepted into Avid or IH or a special program, your counselor will let you know. And then you'll just know that you're going to use one of your elective periods for that program. I'm not sure if Avid interviews are in person or virtual. I would check the application to see if it says it on there.
IMS is the Institute of Math and Science. Students right now are meeting during advisory with the IMS teachers and students from the high school that are coming down to discuss and talk more about the programs.
IMS does not give you college credits. Someone asked. You gain college credits through IMS. You do not gain any college credits through IMS. However, there are electives in our school which do offer college credit. So those are all listed on the elective sheet that you will have access to see.
You have to be enrolled in ROTC and you have to apply and be accepted and enrolled in ROTC in order to take the ROTC classes. Lunch starts at 10:30 and ends at 11:15. It is 45 minutes long.
Someone asked how many electives there are. I'm not sure if you mean how many electives we offer. You can check our program of studies, many, many, many. But typically freshmen will have 2 periods for electives.
Avid
Someone
does
has
not give you college credit as well.
Sorry, this question made me laugh. For the early childhood program, will you have to wake up early in the morning to take care of the fake child? There is a portion of the early childhood program which gives you a baby. I honestly don't know exactly how that works, but again, please feel free to reach out to the program directors and find out more about that. Yes, please still rank your electives. The baby is intense. The babies are very intense. Fake or real? All
So
right.
the questions are done, and this presentation will be sent out to everyone. Mrs. Rosen, thank you so much for being available this evening. Mr. Casal, I know he's not on the presentation any longer. And Ms. Graftista, thank you so much for moderating and assisting with the Q&A and the presentation this evening. I hope everyone has a lovely evening. And this information will be shared with everyone, hopefully by Thursday, no later than Friday. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
Bye.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.